Hey guys, it's Jared here to talk to you a little bit more about the updates of the Tyranid Codex in the last couple months. It's been really good developments. I'm really excited for what's happening with the army and all these data slates that have been coming out. They've really been changing the game for Tyranids, and I feel like we're not a low-tier, bottom-ranking army anymore. And from the Las Vegas Open that happened at the end of January, you can see that a lot of really good players played Tyranids with the new Codex even before the data slates came out and still did really well, higher than a lot of other people who were playing cookie cutter Eldar armies and whatnot. Let's talk about what changed for the better for us first. Let's do the good news. In fact, this is going to be all a good video in general. First off, our Flyrant is cheaper, and it's also got +1 ballistic skill now, hits a lot better, and you can give it relics. One of the big things is to have a Flyrant, a Hive Tyrant with wings. For those of you who don't know, a Flyrant is a Hive Tyrant with wings. Where wings used to cost 60 points, they now cost 35, and the Hive Tyrant himself got cheaper too, so he's just cheaper overall. You give him two sets of twin-linked Devourers with Brain Leech Worms. He gets 12 shots at Strength 6, AP 5, at Ballistic Skill 4, reroll all misses. That's pretty good. He's going to be hitting a lot of stuff with that. And that's 18-inch range. So it's not very good range, but you're also a flying monstrous creature, and we all know how sweet flying monstrous creatures are. I mean, 12 to 24 when swooping with a Jinx save of 5+, if they get past your armor of 3+. So not too shabby, especially since you can land and then assault still and still be a Hive Tyrant, in close combat, which is pretty nasty. The relics are really nasty as well, adding them into the game. A lot of people are looking to play what's called the Templant, is what they're calling on the forums. The Hive Tyrant, flying Hive Tyrant with template weapons. And I've done a walking Hive Tyrant with the double templates, and that's pretty fun as well. So I can only imagine what the flying one is going to be like. In fact, I'm going to try it out this weekend, so I'll have to let you guys know during that battle report what that's all about. But the double templates come from Thorax Swarms, and you can take your pick of what you want. Electroshock Grubs are the main choice because of the Haywire. So kind of, Strength 5, AP 5 kind of gets through a lot of stuff anyways. Plus it can Haywire tanks. And the Miasma Cannon. So you give a Hive Tyrant wings, Electroshock Grubs, and the Miasma Cannon, and the Miasma Cannon has a poisoned 2+ template that it can throw out. So these are flamer templates. So you just, flamer template right on top of each other, and just lay stuff out. That's really fun. The Moloch got cheaper as well, and it went from 170 to 135 or something like that, or 140. So 30 points cheaper there. That's pretty cool. Molochs are, again, a hit or miss unit because you might scatter off of objective trying to take out that big unit of infantry or whatever. But they're still pretty cool, and having a Moloch in your backfield and having your opponent know that you have a Moloch that's probably going to come up turn 2 with a Strength 6 AP2 template or large blast, that's dangerous. It makes them change up the thinking. They have to adjust strategy, watch their backfield, things like that. The Harpy got a lot cheaper as well, and it got more options, so that's pretty cool. Not to mention, we also got new guys, which are pretty sweet, such as the Exocrine, to a lesser extent the Haruspex, though I have heard the Haruspex has been doing some work for some people, some serious work. You just got to get it into close combat, and so adrenal glands are kind of a must. So getting into close combat is getting that first charge off, actually, is the key. And I'm going to try one out this weekend, my Haruspex out this weekend. I did the Exocrine a couple weekends ago, and it was great. But I want to see how the Haruspex works. And I think it'll be probably best against AP or Armor Value 3 enemies, like Space Marines. But I'm going to be playing against Imperial Guard, and we'll see if maybe it can still mulch through some Imperial Guardsmen. Also got the Hive Crone. The Hive Crone is sweet. It's got another template weapon, so just Tyranids now are just templates everywhere. pretty cool. Another unit that didn't really get better or anything else, but that is really shining in this edition with it, 6th edition's focus on long-range weaponry and shooting, is the Biovore. Biovore can knock enemies out of their castle formation, no problem. Space Marines will give you somewhat of a problem, but Tau, Necrons, etc., Orcs, Imperial Guard, you should be just laying them out with a brood of 3 Biovores, doing the barrage attack. It's pretty nasty. And good range. No line of sight needed, etc. Barrage is where it's at for that. The data slates. Data slates are superb. And sure, it's microtransaction hell. They're charging you $15 for this extra thing that just gives you these force organization like extras basically. But it's so powerful. The newest one, the Data Slate 2, is making Tyranids just demolish enemies by turn 3 in a lot of times when I'm hearing these battle reports. The Skyblight Swarm, the Skyblight formation, is absolutely nasty. People are running 3 flying Hive Tyrants, plus you got 2 Harpies and a Hive Crone. So there's 5 flying monster creatures right there. Plus, people are still running like an extra Hive Crone. You got 6, possibility of up to 9 flying monstrous creatures in your army. That's nasty. Just flying monstrous creatures everywhere. And monstrous creatures are tough to take out anyway. When they're flying at you, moving 24 inches right up in your face, turn 1, you know, doing vector strikes, dropping spore mines, doing templates all over the place, dropping the twin link brain devourers, you know, brain leech devourers. It's pretty devastating. The Endless Swarm is also pretty cool. It makes Trigons and Trigon Primes a viable unit again. They were still viable, just had to kind of alternate their role, kind of change their role up a bit. With Endless Swarm now having the your broods of Termagants or Hormagaunts coming back if they die, that hole that you create in the backfield, just nasty. Because then you have your guys come back from reserves, and they have the option of coming up that hole. So now you got a brood of 10 to 15 Hormagaunts. I don't really suggest bigger than 15. You can go 20 if you want, but bigger than 15 and your brood might not die, might not be wiped out completely by turn 3 or 4 when you'd like them to come up out of reserves, out of the Trigon hole, and hopefully your Trigon comes up in turn 2 as well. I know there's a lot of hopefullys there, but that Endless Swarm thing. And I'm going to try that tactic this weekend too. So this weekend I'm going to do Flyrants, 2 of them, as well as a Haruspex and the Endless Swarm. So we'll see how those go out, and I'll let you guys know from my personal experience how that goes. But everything I've been hearing is pretty awesome. So we also have tons of options now in this new codex, and the Termagants, for instance, just tons of options. In fact, you can load like 1 out with a Spine Fist, 3 out with Devourers, and just kind of switch it up, and you can mix and match. Have 10 guys in a brood of 20 have just Flesh Borers, and the other 10 have Devourers, and now you can put the Flesh Borers up front so your Devourers survive. And that's just that option, that mix and match and changing of wounds that's available in 6th edition is making this really fun and really unique and really giving us a lot of options as Tyranids. All the new HQs that we have, Old One-Eye, Death Leaper, and the Tyranid Prime, give us so many options for so many different playstyles. One of the big things to do is playing as with a brood of 30 Termagants as your Turbigon tax for making a Turbigon a troops choice, and taking that brood of 30 and attaching a Tyranid Prime as your warlord to that brood of 30, and then now all of a sudden you have this Tyranid Prime, this warrior Prime, that's just running around with 30 ablative wounds because he just runs up in the back of it, and that Tyranid or that Termagant squad is good to go. They have permanent synapse with them. You just have the synapse moving up the field, and that's pretty nasty. The formations, again, they're awesome. They lie outside of the force organization chart, and that's how you can have so many flying monstrous creatures. When you normally could only have 3 in the fast attack, now you can get 3 extra plus another HQ choice in the Skyblight Swarm, or in the heavy support slots. You can do the living artillery formation, where you have an exocrine and some biovores and some warriors. And the exocrine, everybody loves the exocrine, AP2, who doesn't love that? And you can have that exocrine outside of the force organization chart in the heavy slot, so you can have more DAC effects maybe in your army. And that's just, I mean, it's awesome. The formations are really changing the way Tyranid players work and how people think about Tyranid players. There's also more options with the warriors and the tyrants. There's just tons of options to do. One of the famous, the best ones right now out that people are using because it's so cheap and so efficient for what it does is the plain brood of warriors, and give one of them a Barb Strangler. It's 100 points, and that one guy has 36-inch range that has a large blast template and pinning, and that's awesome for keeping enemy infantry, keeping their heads down. It doesn't work against like 50% of the armies out there because they're all fearless or whatever, but against that other 50%, you're pinning them. And against the 50% that is fearless, you might be doing some wounds. Sweet deal. And the Trigon Prime, again, he's viable. Throw artifacts on him. I used one recently through the miasma cannon on my Trigon Prime because I wasn't using any flying Hive Tyrants. And when he did his deep strike, he came up, he shot his 12 shots of electricity at a squad, decimated them mostly, and then used the template. And in fact, it was actually the template and then the shooting. And that was just, it was awesome. Because you just deep strike them up right next to someone, throw the template on them, and then anybody who's out of that template range who didn't get caught, you shoot them with 12 attacks. And then, of course, the last thing I want to say that's great about the Codex and great about Tyranids in this edition and this new release and everything. Carnifexes. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it every single day until this edition changes or they change Carnifexes on us. Carnifexes, Carnifexes, Carnifexes. They're so much cheaper, so much better. For 150 points, you can get a DAC effects, which is a Carnifex with 2 twin-link devours. And as I already stated, double twin-link devours on your monstrous creature is nasty. Now imagine 3 of those guys plodding up the field. That's 12 wounds at toughness 6, armor value 3, running up field, and you have an 18-inch range. As soon as they get close, that's 36 twin-linked, strength 6, AP 5 shots on any enemy. That takes out squads of Terminators like nothing. And any of the Terminators you don't take out with that, you just charge them. You get D3 Hammer of Wrath attacks and strength 9, AP 2. You can see where I'm going. Carnifexes, 450 points, 3 of them. Nasty. Nasty. The bottom line of this video, the bottom line of this Codex and all the data slates and everything that's been coming out for Tyranids is that this is the best time to be Tyranids ever. We have the most options ever. We have some of the best models ever. And as much as there was a bunch of negativity, even from my end a bit, from the release of the new Codex, I mean, everybody was so hyped up on rumors. And it just took us some time to get some traction and figure out how this new Codex would work. And really, it's working in the way that Tyranids are supposed to work, in the fluff manner Tyranids are supposed to work, which is they're supposed to be a swarm. And that's the bottom line. Best day to be a Tyranid, and I hope you swarm every enemy you play against. Again, this is Jared, letting you know that Tyranids are in and they're here to stay, and I bet you can see one of us Tyranid players winning the next big tournament in your area, or nationally, or even internationally, sometime in the near future.